I wish you bluebirds in the spring to hear your song, a song to sing, and then a kiss. More than this, I wish you love.
Welcome to the Forgiveness Solution Podcast. I'm Reverend Misty Time. So happy you're here. You can find me at revmisty.com. Please email me your forgiveness stories. I'd be so happy to hear from you. That would be at revmisty@outlook.com. Please subscribe to the Forgiveness Solution Podcast at Sacred Stories. Please like us. Today, so happy. We're going to interview an amazing woman, just a fantastic woman, Cyndie Silbert. Cyndie is the founder of Feminine Mastery, host of the Feminine Masters online workshop series, and a celebrated author of True Calling, the Awakening Power of Your True Self. She leads a global community of women. Cyndie awakens the unique feminine essence and true potential of women. She guides them by discovering their true calling. And I can say personally, she helped find my true calling. It was always there. She helped me uncover it. And this was many years ago. And she's a fantastic woman. And she really help you express your talents and your gifts and your superpowers. And she does that by helping you understand the true archetypes. And she's going to talk more about that later in our interview. And it's really, really exciting. And we're also going to really discuss forgiveness. Why? Because we're the Forgiveness Solution Podcast. And we're going to dig into self-forgiveness today. And Cyndie's going to share one of her personal stories. And she's also going to talk about forgiveness in her coaching and where that really comes in. Cyndie, could you introduce yourself a little bit more?
Hi, Reverend Misty. I'm so excited to be here with you and with everybody listening. And as Misty said, I'm Cyndie. I'm the founder of Feminine Mastery. It's a new pathway for women to find a deeper sense of fulfillment and greater success without all of the overwhelm, the striving, the overwork, the overgiving. It really is a shift in a paradigm that we're supporting women in. So again, I'm happy to be here.
Well, great. Well, let's really get started about forgiveness. And I always like to start kind of at the beginning. We'll talk about your view on forgiveness and maybe your view and how it started in the beginning as a child. What did you see? What were your examples of forgiveness when you were younger?
That's a great question. It takes me way back, as I'm sure many people feel. I feel like I've lived multiple lifetimes. But I grew up as the youngest of 6 kids in Michigan and in a Catholic family, blue collar, very hardworking. Grandparents came over from Europe. So I can't say there was a lot of sort of touchy-feely love or even like what today, the kind of parenting that we do. And so shooting from the hip, basically, as the youngest of 6, I was kind of led to run free, and a lot of times that running free went sort of out of the box and in a direction that my parents didn't necessarily agree with or approve of. And with being raised Catholic, there was always that harsh, kind of rule system of what you do and what you don't do. So anyway, I grew up with forgiveness being, really first confession. Like we go to confession to forgive our sins. And then there was times when, when I strayed away, I was sort of the out of the box kid that was different from everybody else. There were times where I did feel forgiven, not with words necessarily, but for me, it's when relationships sort of shift back into feeling love and connection, then I know that forgiveness is present. So,
You're referring to family members and loved ones, or are you referring to God?
To me, God, the divine has always played a very important role in my life. I remember being a child and not really listening to the sermons, but loving to go to church and loving to pray and kneel and feeling that divine connection. So yeah, I think when we're in self-judgment, I think we separate ourselves from God and the divine, and sort of, we're no surprise we're in misery.
Yes.
Right? And then when we do an act that somebody judges as wrong or inappropriate, then we might also disconnect from that person and ourselves. Look into self-judgment or blame, or responding to the shame or the blame, and there can be a strong separation. And so for me, when I know forgiveness is done its magic, is when I feel sort of whole again. So when I feel that in my heart that I have found a place for somebody that I'm forgiving, or that somebody else has found a place in their heart and has forgiven me.
Wonderful. So obviously over time you might have changed your version of what forgiveness is. So maybe moved away from your childhood version, the Catholic Church version, and moved into your grown-up version.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
And so talk about that. Talk about your life changed into you're a coach now, mm-hmm. and how that changed and what that looks like for you.
Yeah, feminine mastery is really, it's a set of practices that guide a woman. I work with women, although I help men with their feminine mastery too in different ways. But it's a set of practices that lead us to be who we are, and part of those practices are sort of what I call self-affirmation, so self-love is part of that. But really part of the old paradigm that I think a lot of us have sort of been stuck in and not so fulfilled in is the part that is judgmental, that, is, black or white, good or bad, success or failure, needing to find blame versus responsibility. So it's sort of, my grown-up version is probably a daily self-forgiving practice, right? Of staying out of judgment, blame, emotions that are negative, guilt, anger, what have you, and shifting back into a deeper connection with who you are and coming back into alignment and creating your life from there. So it's become a daily practice, I would say.
Wow, I'd really like to get into what a daily practice of forgiveness would look like, and how it would be amazing if, not just myself, because I know I would struggle practicing daily. That would be a goal for me. But what would it be like if the world could practice daily forgiveness? So could you enlighten us what that daily practice would look like?
Yeah, so it might look like, my son, who is amazing, 13 and going on, 25. And, he can be pretty harsh, Mom, I don't like this, Mom, you're a terrible mother, this or that, or he definitely takes after me and doesn't listen to what I tell him to do and follow my guidance. So
he's also a teenager.
Yes, he's a teenager. Yeah. So a daily forgiveness practice would be, instead of taking those things personally, just allowing him to communicate whatever he's communicating, and shifting back into love, into guidance, into staying congruent with the way I want to live, the way I want to feel, the way I want to teach and guide, without getting sort of hooked or triggered by, experiences with him or anybody else. If we have somebody runs us off the road or gives us the finger, or, those yes. daily occurrences. There's construction going on in the background where we're doing this beautiful podcast. But whenever we're feeling like we're attacked, then we're wanting to find the attacker,
right?
And that's just such a natural, ingrained thing in the old programming of how the world has evolved, and that's really changing now. And your work, Reverend Misty, is amazing. It's a pivotal and much needed part in helping us all make that transition from needing to blame, or needing to, hold on to things, or needing to punish, and being able to forgive and move on and come into a wholeness and completion with ourselves and with others.
What I'm really hearing from you, and what I speak a lot about, is choice. Everything we have is a choice, including the decision to pick up unforgiveness, those ugly feelings, the anger, the pain, all of those things, though they tend to happen in a blink of an eye, and they're usually very natural reactions to something, but it's also a very conscious choice to put those things down. And I'm hearing in all relationships, especially the ones that we live with daily, the spouse, the children, the teenagers, it is a choice to put those negative feelings down and to choose to try to walk the other path, to see where the other person is coming from, to choose kindness, to choose love, to choose everything else but those ugly feelings, and choose forgiveness. Is that what I'm really getting from what you're saying?
Yeah, definitely. And choose a higher path that's congruent. I love the word congruency and congruent, that because that's when we're in alignment or congruent, we can feel it. And when we're triggered or hooked or we're in blame or non-forgiveness, we feel terrible.
I agree with that.
And we try to live on top of it and all around it. So being congruent with who you are and not getting hooked and triggered by the way the rest of the world is living, by choice, exactly, that to me is true empowerment.
Wow. I would love, and I wish there was a magic wand that we could take what you just said and implement that into everyday politics, everyday society, and understand that blame and make it congruent. Boy, I need practice saying that word. So that we can change the world. Because if we woke up every day and chose forgiveness, that link between love and healing, that would change the world. It really, really would change the world. Everybody wants to, quote, change the world, but what is the action? And in my heart, my passion is that is forgiveness. And you just gave us a perfect example of how to do that. And oh, wow, if you guys saw me right now, you would know I'm pretty much jumping up and down right here. And I'm just so excited to hear Cyndie explain that so beautifully. Thank you so much, Cyndie. So, Cyndie, could you share a personal story with us? I know you mentioned your son, but talk about self-forgiveness. Cyndie and I have personally talked about self-forgiveness a bit, and you want to perform a miracle, forgive yourself. I think we're definitely hardest on ourselves. We tend to want to forgive others quicker. I always say, we'll pull somebody out from under a bus the moment they say they're sorry. But we tend to even be harder on ourselves, even if other people have let us, quote, off the hook. But we still keep ourselves on the hook. So let's talk about that self-forgiveness and maybe bring in one of your personal stories.
Yeah, I mean, the one that's coming up to me is going, through divorce, and making that choice was a very difficult choice, as I know it is for many people who choose to go that path. And I didn't, I think I made the choice. I moved on. I started a new life. Took my son, with me through that process. Without realizing it, I think I was really carrying a lot of burden, blame, guilt, all the things, all those heavier things, and really not showing up as the parent for him that I'm showing up as now, because all of that made me really afraid of losing him and losing his love and respect and all of those things. So recently, I really finally found a place in my heart for that entire experience. And I think so many of us go through these life transitions, or God forbid, losing a loved one to an incident or what have you. But until we can truly slow down and process all the emotions that are felt in a situation like that, we can't really self-forgive. It's forgiving yourself, but we also have to allow sort of all of it to come true and to come whole through conversation, definitely practices of self-forgiveness. But for me, it's really finding that place in your heart for yourself and for other people involved, and really looking to a more divine level for assistance through the healing process in these situations. So I don't know if that's really answers your question, but that's what came to me.
Oh, it really does answer the question. And I think so many people that are listening, and if you're sipping a cup of tea or jogging right now listening to this podcast, and you've been through any tough situation, whether it be a divorce or a breakup or even a breakup of a friendship, there's always that sense of loss. And you checking in with yourself. What did I do? Did I make the right decision? And that gut-wrenching pain that comes from those decisions. And you want to know, did I do the right thing? And you didn't intentionally hurt others along the way, but it happens. And then you feel such regret that those people were hurt along the way. And gosh forbid it be a child of your own. And I've been through a divorce myself, and I will tell you, it is heart-wrenching. And when you come through it and you look back, would you change some of the things that you did during the process? Well, most likely there's not one person I know that didn't say yes, they wouldn't change something of the process. But there's no growth without loss, and no loss without growth. And yes, you definitely grow. And teaching others that there's forgiveness through that process, and the hardest piece is to forgive yourself and learn that life is messy, people are messy, and we all deserve forgiveness. And that was actually a beautiful account of true life. And I do really like to talk about true life because that's what it is about. And we're here together stumbling through the rough, rapid ride of forgiveness. It's really not a journey. A journey is far too comfortable and relaxing. Forgiveness is a rough, rapid ride where we get splashed and tossed and turned and a little bit bruised. But we come out wiser, and we come out stronger, and we can teach our children, hopefully early on, what forgiveness really is. It's more than saying to somebody else, I forgive you. Actually, it's really not about that statement at all. It's really about what's happening in your own heart, mind, and soul. And what you just said, what happened in your heart, mind, and soul, not just for the people around you, but for yourself, and understanding that, my goodness, you're a human being. Congratulations, Cyndie, you're a human being. I'm so pleased because she also gets to help other people in her daily work understand that they're human and they're fantastic and wonderful and beautiful. And that couldn't be more awesome. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
One more thing came to me as you were sharing your beautiful reflection is that I think if you can see yourself, raise up and out of whatever you're experiencing. So if you can, from the present moment, see yourself in a past situation or see the situation with others that you are wanting to forgive, and looking at it from that outside viewer's perspective, you can kind of see that everybody was doing the best that they could given the situation. And then also lifting up and out and looking at it from a divine higher view perspective too, and bringing in that divine assistance that's available to all of us. I think the perspective change is really important in order to be able to forgive yourself or others.
Thank you for bringing in the divine, not just because I'm a reverend, but because I do believe the divine is accessible to all of us, whether you're standing in a church, whether you're standing at the beach, whether you're standing in the middle of your kitchen. The divine is just waiting for us to access. And that was a perfect way to say that. And please remember that the divine is waiting for you to access however you choose to access, whatever words you choose, however you choose to call the divine, whatever words you use, whether you use the word God, divine, spirit, angels, however you choose to use those words. And it will bring you major comfort and love and beauty. And Cyndie, again, brought that up. As you can tell, I'm a very big fan of Cyndie. Her words, her spirit, everything about Cyndie. And thank you for sharing your personal piece. And now let's go a little bit, let's transition into your coaching. Let's talk about your work. And how long have you been coaching?
I've been in this work for almost 12 years. Yeah.
Wow. And over the 12 years, you've probably seen a lot of not just personal transition yourself, but your coaching transition and how you've seen that change. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. We were, before the podcast, we were talking about a person's calling. And, that's where Misty and I, Reverend Misty, and I, our paths crossed is is her seeking to find her true calling, and me finding that I had a gift for helping women to do that. So that's where we met, and that's where we continue to connect in supporting one another. And so my work really started from an inner calling, and I sort of found myself taking these actions and making choices based on this other part of me that I wasn't normally in charge of my life. So that way back when I was in corporate America, and I just stopped being fulfilled there and started looking at how people were treating each other and who I had to be to rise up the corporate ladder. And at that same time, my heart was calling me to a deeper place, and then a physical place called the island of Maui. And so what I found myself detached from corporate America on the island of Maui with a curly-haired little angel, with really nothing to do. I said, well, I'm going to find my true calling. And so I literally opened up to that, and this whole idea of true self-expression came through. And since that moment or that time, my work has evolved from sort of helping people discern non-truth from their truth to what I call today feminine mastery. And so feminine mastery is really about helping women find peace, fulfillment, and not feeling so torn and overwhelmed, and being less compartmentalized and reacting, trying to do or manage or juggle everything in their life, to really making a total shift inward to honoring their hearts, their desires, discovering their gifts, their superpowers, as you have done, and we are so lucky to receive those superpowers, Reverend Misty, that you have. And then to live a life that is a complete expression of who they are. And so it's not so much about doing, but it is about the mastery of their being, and with that, not having to make trade-offs, not having to choose love over work or work over love, or being practical versus being passionate. I mean, it's just a woman really gets to embrace all of who she is on her path to feminine mastery.
Well, I can tell you personal experience, and otherwise Cyndie's great at it. She really helps you focus and understand what your heart has been telling you. Sometimes you don't listen to your heart well enough because of all the noise on the outside. And Cyndie's great at having you tune into that. It's been years and years since I picked up the phone and chatted with Cyndie the very first time. And before I went to seminary and all of that, and really tuned into my heart and listened to the whisper that was in my ear when I was a child, and God was calling, literally. And I'm so happy that I found my calling, and Cyndie helped me put me on that path, and Cyndie helped hone that in and help me listen to my heart even more, because I also was in corporate world before that and didn't have the full fill, and now I definitely have that. And Cyndie was somebody who put me on that path and helped me listen to my heart. So from deep in my heart, Cyndie, thank you for that personally. Thank you for sharing your forgiveness story that personally and professionally is beautiful, and you touch other people with your life daily. And I'm so glad to hear that the divine touches you, that the forgiveness touches you, that your family is renewed and beautiful because of your forgiveness story. And I'm just so pleased that you joined me here today. You can also find Cyndie yourself and help awaken your true calling. And Cyndie, where can they find you?
At femininemmastery.com. Very simple. And there you can find our archetype quiz, which I highly recommend diving in and taking that as the first step to finding your true calling, your unique potential. And then also you can find my book and lots of other goodies there.
And the archetype quiz is tons of fun, ladies, or men who's ever listening. I'm telling you, the archetype quiz is absolutely a kick. It's really fun. I joke, it's not like taking a Cosmo quiz, but it's absolutely fun. And find your archetype. Find out whether you're a butterfly or a dragonfly. And it's really, really fun. And it's very interesting. It's more than a personality quiz. Let's just put it that way. And so today, before we end, understand that forgiveness is a choice. And Cyndie put that very clearly. It's an everyday choice. It's a choice that you have the power to make. You get to take the power back. So if somebody took your power, understand you can take it back. It's forgiveness. And remember that forgiveness is the link between love and healing. If love solved everything, then every cute song and every hug would fix everything. And it doesn't, unfortunately. But forgiveness is that link between love and healing. You can add in some gratitude on top. So if you would like to contact me, please do. revmisty.com or revmisty@outlook.com. And please subscribe to this podcast. We would love it if you would. And please like us. That would also be fantastic. Until next time, much love.
I wish you bluebirds in the spring to hear your song, a song to sing. And then a kiss more than this. I wish you